Welcome into the Bite Meat podcast, and a special one for you today. Now, here at the Bite Meat podcast, we are always talking to some of the greatest pitmasters anywhere in the world, and that includes name one. And we probably had them on the podcast, or maybe some people that are big in the industry, from Jeremy Andrus, the CEO of Traeger, to CEO Dan Gertzikoff of Big Green Egg, and Badia Spices CEO, and all that. Today, I'm really been kind of looking forward to this because we're looking at the next one, right? Isn't that what we're doing? We're looking at the next great. This
I
is,
can only hope so.
yeah, that's right. That voice right there is Logan Glenn from Space City BBQ. And Logan, we're going to get into a lot of people all the time are talking about, they're really good, pitmasters in their backyard, maybe do a little catering on the side, something like that. And we're going to get your story here in a second. And then they go into, well, maybe I'm going to get me a food truck. Maybe I'm going to get me a barbecue truck and find a place to put it and really grow the business. Well, you have done that, and we're going to get your story. But I do want to mention to everyone to not forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. That's on Podbean, where we host it. I always emphasize that because you can get every episode we've ever done, from Aaron Franklin to Leonard Botello to Grant Pinkerton, to some of those names that I just mentioned as well. But you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and that is on iTunes, Spotify, wherever. But Logan, a lot of people out there listening to this podcast have the bug. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening. They're oftentimes from amateurs to really, really good to great pitmasters at the highly competitive level. But you've been doing this. When did you start? First of all, now your truck trailer is Space City BBQ in Baytown, but give us the background before we get into some of the details that people want to know about doing it themselves, maybe.
Well, do you want the long story or the short story?
You give me the best story. You give me the best story you got.
I mean, my wife kind of brought this to my attention the other day. Like, everything kind of happens for a reason. And to be honest with you, looking back at, just over the past 10 years, 14 years that I've been with my wife, it's just, she really does bring up a good point, because I worked at Oakley Smokehouse 10, 12 years ago almost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, the real fire started. And, it started with the Southern Pride Smoker, and working there and just kind of learning the ins and out and getting the bug, so to speak, of barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, it's just kind of been my side passion, and I went from healthy foods, to food prep, to making ice cream, just all over the place. And it just brings me still back to here. And this is what I love to do. And so really my story starts with that, starting there, and getting to know really the ins and outs of just how the meat works and all that kind of good stuff. And just keeping up as a hobby. And I don't really know where else to go from there besides
what about getting into it, like finally taking the leap?
So that all started with basically we started in doing things on the side. We would do barbecue out of our garage, believe it or not. Our neighborhood would come through, and people in the neighborhood would come and buy barbecue plates from us and all that fun stuff. And so it's pretty much like everyone and their uncle, does barbecue. So, and just starting out was pretty difficult, because I was just another guy that did barbecue. And so that was basically, the hardest part is building the name, getting your name out there, knowing your community and all that kind of good stuff. So just getting to know everybody in our neighborhood, and them coming through and buying plates, and then they would let their friends and family know, and coworkers, and so to speak. So our first big hit was through a catering company, through a company, trucking company, and they basically ordered enough food for like 200 people, and that gave us enough little cash flow to like really get things going. And I decided, hey babe, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this Cambro food warmer. Sorry.
Go ahead and start right there. I'll cut it out. Go ahead and buy this.
I went ahead and bought this Cambro food warmer. It was a top and a bottom one. The top one was electric. The bottom one was, your standard manual
Hmm.
one, I guess you want to call it.
Hmm.
But that kind of gave me the crazy idea of, hey, you know what? Why don't we join the Mont Bellevue Farmers Market? It's
Okay.
once a month. It's nothing too crazy, no crazy commitment. But once we did that, like, I really think that's when we broke through to our community to really get our name out there.
Hmm.
Because other than that, like I said, it was a little bit of a struggle just to, because like I said, you and everybody else's uncle does barbecue on the side or whatever. So
Hmm.
you were just in that kind of a mix. So once we really started doing the farmers market and meeting people and just talking to them and getting to know everybody, like, that's when it really like took off from there.
Yeah, and you have to stand out. I mean, that's everything. That's from non barbecue restaurants to any industry out there, and you have to learn. I mean, you have to study. And a lot of people have learned a lot on this podcast, but they dig into other places as well. Your barbecue, I've had it, and I'm going to talk about the timeline here in a second. But what do you think? Where did you learn to get to that next level so you could stand out? Was it just hard work? I know hard work was involved. I mean, anytime you open a truck, it's going to be hard work. But in terms of the studying of the meats and how to cook them, etc.
Well, as crazy as it seems, is YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube. Like, you can't stress that enough. Like, YouTube has all the information you want out there, like good or bad. It's just really just finding like what fits your style of barbecue,
Hmm.
because there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they always say.
Yeah. And I always say, when I cook barbecue, I cook to my taste, what I really, really love. And we've talked about it with some pitmasters on here.
Yep.
And generally speaking, there's going to be a majority of people, if you know what you're doing, if you know barbecue, if you've been doing it enough, if you really, really like it, they're going to really, really like it. And so, where was you talked about the breakthrough with that trucking company, but where was the moment, the aha moment, where it's like, hey, this is pretty dang good. Let's go ahead and get a trailer now.
So that basically happened with me just being like, you know what, the job that I was doing currently, it just wasn't like really panning out for me.
Hmm.
And the aha moment was, honestly, I had a lot of self-doubt and within
Join the
myself.
club when we're cooking, right?
Exactly. I had a
But
lot of
go ahead.
self-doubt and fear and failing. Like,
Hmm.
how do I make this happen full time? And just honestly, it happened over time with like doing the farmers markets, because you join it the first time and you're just very unsure, how is this going to go, and then all of a sudden we have a line full of people. Our first month, nobody even really knows who we are, and then like it just built from there. Like ever since then, just a little bit of more confidence with each month, and just like, oh well, people really like our stuff, so
Hmm.
let's just do our best to try and stay consistent and just do this once a month, like every month. Like, let's just show up, let's do the best we can do, and that's pretty much has been it. And we did that for 6-8 months, and honestly, the biggest hurdle is being able financially to afford the trailer itself,
Hmm.
because it's not cheap to
Yeah.
just go buy a food truck and spend 20, 30, $60,000, like just depending on your range on how
Yeah.
you want things to happen. But we were very lucky. Chef David from Firecraft Barbecue, he was fortunate enough to he has his restaurant now. I guess he didn't really had too much need for the trailer anymore, and he sold it to us at a very discounted price.
Hmm.
And that's where we got the most lucky in all of this. That was the moment that started it all, and I couldn't be more thankful for Chef David. He is the man who started all of this, so to speak, because without him, we wouldn't have the trailer. Like, to be
Hmm.
God's honest truth, um, he hooked us up with a good price. It needed some work, Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. It needed some work. It needed some electrical work. There's some issues, and it needed a lot of TLC. And that's what we gave it for a whole month. And believe it or not, we actually opened on my birthday. I did not plan for that. Actually, really did not plan for it. And it just so happened the day we opened was my birthday, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. And it's just been a blessing ever since, really.
So, for educational purposes for our listeners, what is the whole timeline here from maybe deciding to do a little catering on the side to the warming boxes, the things you purchased, to maybe going to the food market, to getting the trailer, to today, which, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. Space City Barbecue's in Baytown, and sells out just about every day. I mean, it's pretty incredible. But what's the whole timeline here?
So according to Square, because I was doing my taxes today, so according to Square, we started with them in 2023. That's when we went official. But that was pretty much the end, like very much the end of 2023, and then that's when we jumped on to doing the farmers market, because I was like, there's no way we're gonna be able to do farmers market without at least having like a POS system of some sort. So we got this sweet deal from Verizon. We got 2 iPads, and then I was like, we're going to dedicate one of these iPads to just, the business. The other one could be for the kids, So that's kind of how I justified it. And ever since then, we just kept the ball rolling. Like I said, like we dedicated technically 2 days a month, to really getting the ball rolling and getting our name out there. And we really enjoyed it and started looking forward to it.
And when did you go full bore? What do you go? You go Thursday through Sunday, or what are your days now with Space City?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 11 a.m. until we sell out, or 5 p.m. because I gotta get to the kiddos and the family.
Yeah, that's the thing. You mentioned your wife. You mentioned the family. I've had the pleasure of meeting your family, and that's intimidating, man. I mean, that you talk about a leap of faith. What was I know they supported you, or otherwise you wouldn't be here, but there had to have been some long conversations about, do we really want to do this?
Yeah, definitely. So many conversations with my wife, but if it wasn't for her and her family just believing in me, like, I don't think it would be possible, because their support is unbelievable. Like, my 2 employees are her sisters. So my sister-in-laws, Ashley and Jenny. Without them, we couldn't do what we are doing now. Without my family and support system, like, it's just, when we say this is a family-run business, we really truly mean it. Like, this is our heart and soul, and this is what we do as a family, and we all believe in it. We all love it, and this is all of our life,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the practical aspects of this. If you're a very famous, whether food truck or restaurant pitmaster, you have connections to suppliers, whether it's meat or spices or whatever. What was that process like? What would you recommend? How do you tell people, okay, you got to do this, and this? Because I'm sure when you started, you were just buying your briskets and chickens, like the rest of us, right? But how does that process happen?
Hey, it all started with HEB.
HEB, baby.
HEB's got some good stuff. That's a great way to start. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I could go and get prime brisket from HEB for pretty much $1 cheaper than what I'm paying now, and that's pretty crazy. Like, per pound, $1 cheaper per pound, and from buying it from the wholesalers, it's more expensive, but you get more of a consistent product. That is the hard part, is finding who are you going to go with, because there are so many out there. So really, you just have to like reach out to pretty much all of them and just kind of like fill out the vibe and see, who do you feel like is going to work best for you.
Yeah.
I met a few Benny Keith reps here in town that live here, and they came and introduced themselves at the farmers market and all that good stuff. And if it honestly wasn't for me having relationships with Rosemeyer Barbecue and Firecraft Barbecue, the insight honestly on buying product and where to get it, like that that's, I guess it really takes a lot of being in the industry and putting in the time and working with these people. But they kind of pointed me in the right direction. I know both of them like to use the Nolan Ryan prime briskets from well,
Is that Kroger?
they don't know, not it's different from the Kroger brand.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit different from the Kroger brand, but I know they like to use a Nolan Ryan prime brisket. So I reached out to them, and through one of their representatives, he came by, we talked, and they gave me a sample of their brisket. Like, basically gave me like a nice 15-pound brisket, trimmed it up, smoked it. He wanted to know my opinion on it. I let him know it was, great, loved it. And I was like, if I could buy this by the case and get a consistent product every single time, that's what I was really looking for. Because as great as HEB is, and it's $1 a pound cheaper, but you don't really get the quantity and you don't get the consistency. That was what I was really trying to look for. And Rufino's Meats, they're out of College Station, so I was like, hey, my wife went to A&M. That works out.
So did I.
Exactly. I was like, hey, that works out. So just a little bit of a tie with that, and I haven't really had too many complaints. Like there's a few times where you place an order and you get your order and it's like, hey, why is this not here? But it's that's just the little stuff.
That's just the way the life is sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you've touched on something a couple of times, whether it was learning from was it Chef David, I guess is what you said, and some of these relationships. But that's the best thing about this industry, especially the barbecue industry. People are unafraid to go ahead and tell you and share their information. And so anyone out there listening who has this inkling and has the drive and has the passion like you do, they can just knock on doors, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, the best part of this whole entire process has just been the Texas brotherhood of barbecue. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, if you're out there really putting in the effort and people can see that, like, and if you reach out to them or they reach out to you, like, and they, you're making a relationship, don't be afraid to ask them like questions, because more than likely they're gonna like pour their heart out to you and just be real with you. Like, because that's what I'm finding out with a lot of people. They're just really honest, upfront, and they're nice, very genuine. And that just seems to be like the Texas barbecue community. And it's great. It really is.
Yeah. I just thought of something else when you talked about your meats. You got to store those suckers too. You got to store them, find a place to keep them cool, etc. I mean, this is just another one of those layers that people say, hey, I want to open a food truck. Boy, you got to think about those things. How do you do it? And do you get all your meats from the same place right now?
Yeah, well, I am getting all of them from Rufino's Meats right now. Getting ribs, the pork belly, pulled pork, pork belly, the ribs, all the good stuff. But sausage, we're making it. The boudin, we're making it. Chicken, we'll do that specialty every now and then. But usually when I do chicken, I like to bust out the OG sauce.
Damn right.
That's my go-to. And then, of course, like, getting turkey from them and all that good stuff. But yeah, definitely Rufino's Meats is what we are using.
And where do you store everything?
Over here at La Casa. Unfortunately, I wish I had a walk-in cooler. That's for damn sure. But I have, let's see, 5 refrigerators at the house, and they're all packed full every single day. So
there goes the kids' playroom.
Actually, there goes my garage.
So you got 5 in your garage.
I have 4 in the garage, 1 in the house. That one's the backup. I don't really want to put anything in the house refrigerator, because my wife's like, you have all these other damn refrigerators. That's my overfill.
yeah, that's the extra. So what people maybe don't know about opening a food truck, it's such a great idea. You're on your own, it's your business, you're calling the shots, you're not really answering to too many people, if anyone. But what did you really tell people, or what did you learn about, boy, you better know this if you're thinking about opening a food truck?
Well, let's just put it this way. At the end of the day, when a customer decides they want to call and maybe do like a catering order that you just pretty much can't say no to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it becomes like, oh shit, it's like I can't say no to that, but who else is gonna do it? It's you. It's all
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah.
But that's also, I think that's the beauty in it for me, at least. I really enjoy it all being on me because that really keeps my head straight and like it keeps me focused. And without that, I feel like you could slack off in other ways, but that really keeps me focused and keeps me drive on really keeping the business going. It's like it's all on me, and I was scared of that at first, but honestly, it's a great feeling to have on your shoulders at the end of the day because you are your own boss and you get to dictate like whatever you want. Like today, I look back at it today, we closed because the weather was going to be bad. It didn't start really raining until, this interview started. So I
Yeah.
was like, dang it, we could have at least sold a few briskets.
Yeah. You were kicking yourself.
Exactly. We could have done every time we have closed because of weather, like it didn't rain. So it's another thing that you're trying to learn and figure out within your first year of being open, because we haven't experienced the winter months yet because we opened in April last year. So we haven't even been open a full year yet. We got 4 more months, and this is the little winter period is a learning stage for sure.
Man, that's crazy because you guys are doing well. I'm not trying to blow smoke, no pun intended, but I mean, you've got a line. You sell out. How much barbecue you cooking right now?
So, well, it just depends. I mean, we're
Like I
doing
said, Saturday, good Saturday or something.
so a good Saturday is like to ensure that I try and sell it because that's my goal is to sell out. Like you said, I don't want to have leftovers, and if I do, like the firefighters literally down the street, they're the ones that are happy.
Yeah, yeah.
But so yeah, we're doing like 6-7 briskets on a Saturday. Last Saturday we went through like 20 racks of ribs, but that was because we did $25 racks of ribs. And when you do that, people just come like crazy. But we'll do that. We'll go through like 20 pounds of pork belly burn-ins. Usually it's on a Saturday. I might be able to get away with getting away with 2 turkey breasts, 1 pork butt. Everybody sleeps on the pork butt here. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
But everyone wants brisket and ribs. I don't blame them. That's it's like a Texas staple.
Yeah.
That and sausage. But everybody's learning that we are making our own sausage, like slowly but surely. Everybody's catching on to that. And shout out to Rosemeyer. They're the one who taught us how to make sausage. Couldn't thank them more than enough.
You got your sausage making machine in the garage too?
Maybe. we bust it out. We bring it to the trailer. But yeah, like I said, storage is definitely an issue on the trailer. Like we store a lot of stuff at the house. In the garage, but we have to make everything on the trailer. That's the biggest complicated part,
Well, man, you're doing something right because it's happening, and I know might be a little bit uncomfortable for you, but I know our listeners are going to be asking, when are you going to start, or when did you start turning a real profit and making it worthwhile?
Actually, I want to say like the first week.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm from a culinary background. I understand like food costs and all that kind of good stuff. And my whole objective coming into this was I really was trying to take the Leroy and Lewis approach. I don't know if you know them. They're number 3 in Texas Monthly, but they want to use like absolutely every single last bit of the product that they buy. And that's kind of the approach that we're taking. We buy spare ribs, we break them down, we boil down the rib tips, the trimmings of the ribs, that all goes into the boudin, the brisket trimmings, those go into the sausage, and we make tallow. The only part of the brisket that we throw away is basically the cracklings, because I haven't really found out a real good reason or something to use for that. But I'm really trying my best to eliminate food cost and use every last little bit of everything that we buy, and to make a good homemade product for everybody.
Well, you mentioned your culinary background. What is it, and who really, if it maybe it was yourself, but who really taught you the most about cooking this to this level?
Really, so Chef Steve McKibben, I'll give him a big old shout out. He is my first real chef that I worked under at a
Hmm.
Tascita Country Club, and we bounced around a couple different places together, and Big Woodrow's was one of them, and he was the one that I last worked with at Oakley Smokehouse,
Okay.
and I took over his position of managing the kitchen there. But
Hmm.
Chef Steve, yeah, big shout out to him. He's a great guy. Learned a lot about work ethic and just like basically like you can work hard and have a good time. That's what I learned from him. And great guy.
And
And
you go ahead.
Chef David from Firecraft. I worked with him about 10, 12 years ago at Rafa's Waterfront Grill. I was his fry chef. And Chef Steve got me the job there,
Hmm.
and we all worked together there. And then I ended up leaving that job to go work at Big Woodrow's to be Chef Steve's kitchen manager. And that's basically where I got in the foot in the door with David. And then some time went on, and I ended up working at Chilantro's, which was a Korean barbecue and taco food truck. So
Hmm.
that's where I found my real love and passion for like working on a food truck and doing all that.
Hmm.
That was a really fun job. Like just the freedom and like becoming basically becoming the kitchen manager for them and all that good stuff. It was a really big learning experience. Just basically putting in the work and doing everything and seeing just communicating with people and just basically doing everything, absolutely everything when it came to operating the business. That was a really hands-on job, and it was great. And then from there, I circled back to with Steve. He hired me on at Oakley Smokehouse,
Hmm.
and we worked together. Basically, they needed some help, and so they hired a bunch of professionals, and we put our all into it really to get it back up into running and to like putting a lot of love and more care into the sides and to the barbecue. And that's where, like I said before, like that's where I really started the fire and the passion for barbecue. Because you go to culinary school, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I never really thought like, oh, I'm gonna do barbecue.
Yeah, a lot of people have that story. They just love it. What about so really just bits and pieces in terms of learning how to cook your chicken the way you do your brisket, just from everywhere, or how did that go? The actual craft of cooking.
So all that really has been like self-taught,
Hmm.
and I don't want to like brag on myself or anything like that, because literally anyone could do what I have done, and that's just study and study and study and like YouTube University. Like it's a real thing.
But that's why we're doing this podcast. That's
Exactly.
exactly right. I mean, anybody can do this. Now, you mentioned Texas Monthly earlier. Uh, I don't even know the details yet. I should, but I did see you post something. Texas Monthly gave you a little accolade already, right?
Yes, sir. We actually have been in Texas Monthly twice now in
Mm.
2024, and that's completely mind blowing. I just cannot believe it. The moment that I met Daniel Vaughn, when he
Mm-hmm.
came up to the window, like that day, that morning, you wake up, you make your cup of coffee, and you're scrolling Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and
Hmm.
I was like, oh shit. I said, hey babe. I said, look at my phone. Barbecue Snob just followed us on Instagram. I was like, holy shit. Crazy. So, we time goes by. Jenny, she's working that day, my sister-in-law, and I was like, hey, he just followed us on Instagram. I was like, I really don't know what that means, but if you
Post
see this
something.
guy, let me
Post
know.
something.
And
Post
I'm
something
over
about
there
how
like
great we are.
washing dishes or whatever, and I hear this voice, and I'm like, no way. And I peek my head around the corner, and I see the black, the glasses, thick frames, and the hat, and I was like, oh shit. Daniel Vaughn. So I just
Don't.
popped my head around the corner. I was like, hey, Daniel. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, hey, man. And I was just like, what's up, dude? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened? What'd they say?
So he was basically coming back from Beaumont. You know, he did Redbird Barbecue, and then somebody else. He you know he hits up places on his way back. So honestly, I don't know if it's just like all the Instagram posts with all the hashtags,
Hmm.
or like just the convenience of us just being, you know, he's coming back down I-10,
Hey, you
and
might as
we
well
just
stop here, check it out. Yeah.
exactly. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's just convenience or what, but hey, he showed up and he ended up really enjoying everything he had. So I couldn't really be more thankful for that. Like that dude, I even told him, I was just like, you know, I was like, everybody wants you to show up. He's like, oh, not everybody. I was like, well, I did. Even you know, talking to Jordan from Rosemary's Barbecue, he said, he's like, dude, it was our first year. He's like, I didn't want him to show up. I didn't want him to show up at all. And I was just like, man, I can't believe he even did. And the fact that he enjoyed what he had, I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't be more thankful. And he really liked those Blackberry Crown pork belly burn-ins. It's a
Hmm.
mouthful, but you know,
I've had them.
yep, yes, sir, you have.
I've had them. They're delicious. So you planning on taking a vacation in about 3 or 4 years?
Exactly. 3 or 4 years, hopefully, we're gonna go to Disney World or something.
Because that's another part of the story here for for our listeners. It's all great. You've laid out a lot that's informational and educational, but time, man. I mean, if you had to put a clock on the time you spend doing this, what would it be?
Honestly, it's take your time building it. That's the most important part. Like, um, I don't think if we really took the time and started slow, like
Hmm.
if when I think when people jump into it, like it doesn't matter, like barbecue or whatever, like in the food industry, when you just jump into it and nobody really knows who you are, like I think that's when you can fail the
Yeah,
most. Like that's when your percentage of failing like is pretty dang high.
yeah.
Because if nobody knows who you are, then like they're not gonna like really trust you for what you're doing. Or if
Relationships first, right?
yeah, really, you really
Relationships and side gigs first.
yeah, you got to build. You really have to start the foundation and there and just start building it slowly but surely. Like I think it's just like slowly, 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 and then like
Hmm.
once you feel like you're confident enough, like jump into it. You know, like
Hmm.
go all in.
What about I skipped this earlier when I was talking about getting started and all that. I didn't even mention licensing, employees, some of the I talked about acquiring from suppliers, but there's so many other things that get into it. Plating and those supplies and that type deal. That's a process. I'm sure that it just took it just takes some sweat equity, right? Right, do the legwork to get it all done.
Exactly. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the work. And once again, circling back, like if it wasn't for my family, like
Hmm.
because my family are my employees, and if it wasn't for them, like this journey would be like so much more difficult. I'm not gonna lie. I
Hmm.
really do mean it that. Like they do mean a lot to us, and if it wasn't for them, like you said, like because you would have to like hire somebody and then like build a relationship with them and teach them everything, which eventually that's it's going to come to that, like that's in the long run, but if it wasn't for the family and foundation and just having like a good start to things, like I don't know if we couldn't have done it without them.
Well, that you read my mind. That's the next thing I was going to ask before we let you go. Everybody has a plan. I don't know if they write it down, but what's next? What's the truck is blowing, the trailer's blowing and going. Well, that's another thing. You got to find a place to put your trailer. And that's not always an easy thing. And you have to be able to be there every day, so people can't say, "Well, where are they today?" Where are you exactly? Just so our listeners can learn, and then I'll get back to the other.
So we're at 7623 FM 3180 Baytown, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
um, we're a food truck park. We have a Venezuelan truck, we have a taco truck, and we have a coffee trailer that's there in the mornings. Salt and Brew, and honestly, we got to give them a lot of credit. Salt and Brew, they're the ones who gave us the heads up on the specific permit that we needed to open.
Mm-hmm.
Because believe it or not, in Chambers County, there was a 2-year wait list
Oh,
for food trucks.
Oh,
So I
baby.
bought this trailer and I was like, oh, we're just gonna,
Yeah.
get everything up and
Yeah. We'll be there next week.
exactly. We'll be there next week. No, that was definitely not the case. So really depending on your county, that's where it all lies. Like what specific permit that you need
Hmm.
for what you're trying to do. That's the homework that you need to really put in is finding out that kind of information.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that's probably the hardest part because there's a lot of stuff out there, and it's just you really have to do your due diligence and reading and making sure you go through all the right
So how long
guidelines.
did you have to wait? You said 2
So,
years was the wait.
well, we got a special permit. I don't really know the specifics of it, but
Hmm.
it's basically we're not allowed to move the trailer,
Okay.
which I'm okay with that because I
Yeah.
don't have a big enough truck to move my trailer at the moment. We're still working on that.
There is that.
Yeah, exactly,
There
exactly.
is that little
I have
hurdle.
people all the time. They email us. They want us to bring the trailer out to them, but honestly, I'm kind of thankful at the moment because when you move our trailer with the Southern Pride smoker on it, like you have to take out like all the racks, and because if
Hmm.
if not, things get a little discombobulated in there, and just I'm kind of thankful that we're technically not allowed to move the trailer
Hmm.
because that's just going to entail a lot more work. But at the same time, I'm very thankful that like we're able to sell out on Saturdays and Fridays to where we don't have to, we don't
Right.
have to really be a literal food truck moving it spot to spot. We can just stay where we're at and be
Hmm.
successful. But I really think that comes with being, very consistent day in and day out.
Where'd you get your pit? What kind of pit is it? And how did that come about?
So our pit on the trailer is a Southern Pride SBK
It was
500.
already there?
Yes, sir. It was already
Oh,
there. It
good.
was on the trailer when I bought it from David. Um, that's another reason. Like to be honest with you, that trailer, or I mean the smoker itself is probably worth what I paid for the whole entire thing. And I
So it's
couldn't.
how big is it?
It's enough to fit 500 pounds of meat. That's
All
basically
right.
what it's rated for.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it's still not big enough. It's still not big enough for like what I need to do. You think like, oh, 500 pounds of meat, that's a lot. That's a lot of meat. But at the end of the day, like when somebody orders a catering, it's not enough. And
You got to put some more on the back end.
yeah, I actually we have a offset smoker on order, 500-gallon from Galindo Smokers.
Hmm.
George, he's out of George Galindo. He's out of East Houston. He's literally like 2 years younger than me, but he's been doing this for 10 years building pits.
Okay.
And he makes an amazing product. Like he's like, yeah, dude, we were like all over America. I was like,
Hmm.
what? I looked him up and I was just like, you're younger than me, dude. And you're like, you're a pit builder? Like, that's crazy. I went and checked out his stuff. Like, this dude knows what he's doing, and he's making me a 500-gallon on a trailer, and we have a direct heat cooker on it as well. We got some, wood storage, prep table, all kinds of good stuff for overflow. And I'm way more than excited. We're gonna get that around our 1 year anniversary, and we're probably
Nice.
gonna do like a whole hog. Maybe I'm thinking
Oh
to
yeah.
break it in.
Oh yeah. Well, where do you get your wood?
Wood, Werner Firewood.
Hmm.
They have a really good consistent product. They can give you whatever you want, and could be more thankful for them. Like honestly, I haven't met the guy yet, but I text him. I'm like, hey, I need it. Give me an invoice, and then I show up the next morning, and it's stacked and nice and pretty right there by my smoker and trailer. So
Nice.
I couldn't be more thankful.
Nice. All right, last thing, which I said a second ago. What's next, man? What's you like what you're doing? You want to hang in here for a while with the trailer, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, we're not going anywhere anytime soon with the trailer. It's the trailer's basically paid off. Rent's not too bad. Honestly, we're doing great here. We want to keep the ball rolling and pumping out this really consistent product. And even, my wife, she's a teacher and she's been a teacher for the past decade. Like I know we're only like 30 years and she's been teaching forever already. And the crazy thing is, we're at the point where maybe she can take a break for a year or two of teaching
Nice.
and just come and work for us. And that's the beauty in it to us, honestly, is like we're ultimately trying to make a family business and where everybody's a part of it in our family and we're all like putting in effort and working hard together.
Well, man, all those, most all of those pitmasters that we've had on the podcast started exactly like you. I mean, hell, just name one, and they probably had a trailer or a truck at some point, and that's how they started. And that's why I wanted to share this with our listeners, because it's out there, as I mentioned, but also, you can find barbecue anywhere, man. Doesn't have to be in those big places with the 18 pits and all these coolers and resting their meat in this special device and all this other stuff. So congrats. I've been wanting to do this. And I know you guys are going to be knocking it out of the park. So I really appreciate it.
Hey man, we appreciate you. Like this is big. Like I've been listening to you for freaking years. So it's like you're interviewing a fanboy. So it's just like to me, it's like full circle. I still can't believe it.
They don't believe everything you hear, but no, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic for you. But you guys hang around, because we got a smoking hot tip that kind of ties in with this. If you got a new grill or a pit or a griddle for Christmas, we're going to go over to Texas Star Grill Shop, which brings you this podcast every week. And we're going to talk to Juan Castro about exactly how to get that pit ready, season it, whatever it is you may do. And that's happening right now.